episode of Self-Directed. Today, fun topic that just gets my blood boiling. Bad customer service, good customer service. Why does it matter? I'm going to turn it over to you first. Let's just start with bad customer service. Some examples. I know that I can give some, but I think this is a useful topic.
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone's experienced bad customer service, and you know exactly when you are experiencing it. It makes you feel shitty, and you're like, okay, these people don't care about me, and they don't value my business, and that's really what it boils down to. Does either that, or it's like, this is a terribly managed team, organization, whatnot, where it's like they're just hiring people who don't know what they're doing. And if that's the vibe you're going to give off to customers or prospects, then obviously that's the easiest way to lose confidence in your product or service.
It makes people feel absolutely frustrated and powerless to solve their problems. I'm gonna point out some specific examples or things that stand out to me, beyond just like companies that I've had bad customer service from, which we can get into that if we must. There's a long list, but like when you want to cancel a service and you like, especially if it's a software product, if you can't just log in and cancel your service, they're like, you must complete a call to cancel the service. That terrible customer service. I call it holding the customer hostage. When you call and have to go through a robot for like 47 queues to talk to a person, or then once you finally get transferred to the person, it's like, hello, you are caller number 300. Estimated wait time 4 hours. Like, those are some of the biggest ones, and they absolutely frustrate me. But the reason I bring those up is like sometimes it's difficult to quantify what is good customer service without nailing down like what does it actually tangibly look like that's bad, other than just that it makes you feel like shit.
Yeah, I mean, I love thinking about what makes exceptional customer service. With Praxis, both due to the nature of our product and our program, but also just because I think this was instilled from the very beginning of the company. And actually, Isaac and I were talking about this maybe last month or so. Like, our company was built on providing great customer service. Like, at different times, we didn't know what we were doing, or like what the best curriculum was, or, what the best placement process was, et cetera. But we always took care of our customers, and we were relentless about making sure that we delivered the outcomes that, we were responsible for to them. So I think that's number one, of like, deliver what you're supposed to deliver, no matter what. The second one, I think you have to genuinely care about people and genuinely care about your customer base. That doesn't mean that you have to be friends with these people and, like get involved in their personal life and all that stuff. But you have like that relentless focus to deliver outcomes has to come from a place of, I'm here to help this person. And not just I'm getting paid to help this person, but I want to help this person.
I'm personally invested. In this person succeeding.
That needs to come from the top down of a company, and that needs to be like embedded into the culture over time. And, I think it's frustrating when you receive bad customer service from like a large company, like a cable provider or internet or whatever. It's like, but it's also expected. And then I would say the only other time where it's like somewhat, when it can be excusable from an individual level is like when it's like a very high growth startup and it's like they are bursting out of the seams and they're growing like crazy, and it's just like it's really hard to nail that along the way. If you can do it, I think that's a huge advantage. And it's really impressive when people execute on that. And you can tell like when a company is going to make that a priority, and I think it's a long-term advantage to make that a priority. But it, you know, in some ways, like, it's understandable. What's really frustrating is when it's, you know, this takes different, I think like easy software examples, like you were saying, are good. Like there's no reason why I shouldn't be able to cancel, you know, just with a few clicks without having to talk to somebody. This is clearly set up to make this a higher friction point for me to stop paying you money. That's really frustrating. And then when it's, you know, a smaller like service product, and, you know, you actually have, you know, like you have an account manager at like an agency or something, and it's like, dude, your entire business model is based off of your relationships with your customers. And if you're going to treat people poorly, then that just tells me everything to know about your business. Yeah.
I don't want to be flippant and pretend like it's easy. It's really difficult to do. I think at any scale, like delivering awesome customer service is difficult, but it's more difficult if you don't prioritize it. And what I've seen, like what you said, you know, number one, deliver what you sold to the customer. Like what I see on the other side of this is like people who do it poorly. I don't know if they, you know, they may claim to prioritize it, but what I see more often is compensating for an inferior service or an inferior product by being too fluffy. Like it's almost like offering service without substance, where it's like, I'm going to call you and like always like give you a personal touch and make excuses for the product to try and pacify you from canceling. And then another example is like, we're going to lock you into long-term contracts that, you know, like really prevent you from doing anything, whether we're really delivering the goods or not. Those are a couple other frustrating points. But to continue on that, like I personally love I love getting good customer service. I especially love it when it's a product that I'm excited about or whatever. But some of that, without like being satisfied about the product itself or the service itself, it comes off as like doubly insulting.
Yeah.
In many cases. But I think once you have like, you know, you're delivering the goods for your customer, you can tell your team is invested. Like that's where you have such an opportunity to blow customers away and deliver what I like to call WTF experiences. I think about like Hall's Steakhouse in Charleston, South Carolina, which is like up there with the top of service providers of like just hospitality. You go in and everybody is like saying your name and everybody's guiding you to the tables. Everybody's friendly. Like everybody that walks by checks on you and everybody's dressed nice and there's nice music. It's just like an experience. It's not just going into a steakhouse. And like, if their steak was terrible, and
it wouldn't matter.
It wouldn't matter because they've created an experience. Like I don't go there just for the steak. I go there for the experience.
I mean, I'm saying if your product is like, if you're going to a restaurant and the food's bad, I don't care how good the customer service is. And how many restaurants have you gone into where the food is bad and the customer service is like stellar? That just doesn't happen.
That's not going to happen. They go hand in hand.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and it's also like an awareness thing. I'm like, all right, if you're going to differentiate yourself, they're not just differentiating themselves in a highly competitive restaurant market in Charleston. They're also differentiating themselves among like national steakhouses and everything. Like I have a text thread with friends from New Jersey, and they were talking about like what are their top 3 favorite steakhouses, and like Hall's was on a few of their lists.
Amazing.
So I think customer service, one, it's just like a clear signal. Is this a quality business? And it either makes you confident in their quality, or it's going to make me really question it. I think it's like an accelerant. So if you provide a great product or a strong product or service, and you have mediocre customer service, then I'm going to feel neutral about you probably. If you do both those things at a high level, that's how you become like a world-class, like great company. And the same on the other end. Like if you provide a mediocre product, but have strong customer service, then all right, you're going to bump me up to feeling neutral probably. And it's like, I'll stick with it. It depends on what the product or service is. Like there's some things like I would need excellence from all angles. And there's other things where it's like, I don't care about the customer service because I never have to interact with it. Yeah. Either in a process perspective or, from a more personal perspective.
Yeah. I think about what you said. I think about the stereotypes of like sometimes foodie restaurants where it's like, there's kind of this stereotype that it's notorious. The food is great and whatever they're serving is great, but the service is like, you're going to be ignored. It's going to be terrible. It is going to be a pain in the ass, but like the food is great and maybe the ambiance is nice, but like you don't, anytime somebody asks you, hey, how is that place? You're like, it's great, but.
Yeah. I mean, hipster coffee shops are kind of funny in this way where it's like, all right, it's kind of supposed to be that, where it's like, you're going to get great fresh coffee, and you're going to get like grumpy people that don't acknowledge you, don't look you in the eye, don't say thank you, like the opposite of Chick-fil-A. But for some reason, it's like that is part of the ambiance and experience that you want going into a hipster coffee shop.
Yeah. So that's one of the very, very few places that it might work. So
yeah. And then, my other thought on customer service is from how do we view it as a career path and jobs to be done? And, I think I would like to see it more celebrated and viewed positively like sales is, like, let's say within startups and SaaS companies and stuff. Like if you, like everybody knows, if you can sell, you have a job for life and you can make really good money. Customer service, customer success, it's like there's this really big gap between, okay, like it can be a decent starting point, but it's even, I think overall, it's kind of looked down upon. Like, oh, you started as a customer service or customer support rep. Like that, I'm not particularly impressed with that, is like the impression most people would have. And then, it's not really seen as like a career advancement. But if you're someone who can specialize in it and you're somebody who's able to build a like high volume, well-run customer success team, that's an exceptional skill. And, absolutely. And I wish it had more of the culture of like, this is a extremely valuable skill that can be developed. Like, honestly, if I'm looking at like my own skill set, I think, I've done a little bit of everything on the non-technical side of a business at this point. And I pride myself most on the customer service, like I'm able to provide individually, as well as like what we're building at Praxis and the role that exceptional customer service plays. Like, yeah, I do sales regularly on both sides of the business and everything, but more than anything, you can do that at a, slightly above average level. I would never want our customer service efforts to be anything other than striving for world class.
Yeah. You bring up a good point. There is kind of a weird stigma around it. And I think you're right. It's a very difficult job. and it can suck. Like it maybe is one of the most difficult, straining jobs, especially if you have like high volume of customers. Like I'm thinking about the traditional like software company, like you're dealing with you have 150 customers that you're responsible for on a given basis. And you're dealing with, you know, at any given point in time, like 80 fires. That's a stressful job. Yeah.
And if you can like provide great customer service, one, it is difficult and requires certain skills. You have to have exceptional communication and you have to have exceptional judgment. And like, you need to know when, you know, situations need to be escalated or, you know, how to de-escalate them, etc. And I've never seen like anybody who's able to do that at a high level, that signals to me that you're capable of a lot more as well. And it opens up career paths and stuff like, and it's mostly because like it signals that you care. And I think it signals like a certain type of leadership as well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there are a lot of hard skills that go behind that too. Like, you know, interpersonal skills, communication skills, great judgment, usually, the ability to communicate quickly and like critically think about, you know, how should I route this specific issue within an organization? There are a lot of bigger brass tack skills there that I think translate well into most other leadership type roles. So zooming out a little bit on that point, like I think it's a very underexploited opportunity for career advancement. Is like it is on the lower end of the pay scale. It is more of an entry level position, you know, just a starting point in most cases. It is a place where you can learn so much about the business. But because of those things, it's also a way that you can differentiate yourself very quickly by coming in and saying, hey, you know what? I'm going to give customer service at the level as if I was paid 3 or 4 times what I'm delivered. I'm going to offer Chick-fil-A level service, even if I work in a call center. Like you just don't, that stands out among the crowd.
I think it's an untapped resource or under-tapped resource as far as early career growth. And it's like, it's a big area that we focus on at Praxis for our participants as because of the reasons you stated why it's a great starting point. And you get the added benefit of, all right, like you're not going to be earning as much as you would like if you went into sales and did well. But if you're doing something like Praxis, you know, you're kind of skipping out on the college debt and you don't need to be prioritizing, you know, larger earning potential at this stage in your career. And customer service is an amazing area to like learn professionally. Like you learn all those soft skills that you need to kind of go forward and make progress on whatever areas you want to do. And it's like we talked about in one of our previous episodes, like it gives you a little taste of everything. Mm-hmm. So like you can kind of figure out like, hey, I actually am interested in sales and I kind of learned that through customer service, or it's like, hey, I got more interested in like the product and maybe the technical side of support and I'm going to go in that direction. Or, you know, marketing, like I'm just constantly thinking about the psychology and what are, you know, why are our customers using our product? You know, what resonates with them, all that type of stuff. It's an awesome starting point.
Yeah. So I want to bring it home. I know we talked about customer success with the focus on like why you should want to start your career here in a previous episode. This one is a little bit different in terms of like what I think the takeaway is. Like I think about Mike Maples has that Starting Greatness podcast. He has some blog posts about this, so like this idea of hacking value. And I think that the same thing applies to either somebody early in their career or an early company getting started. Is like you don't have to worry about, you know, having the big title, or you don't have to worry about, you know, bringing in 1 million customers right out of the gates. First, figure out how to just deliver value for the customers you can get in front of. And if you can do that consistently over time, that is the fastest, best way to learn, not just about your business or whatever, but like the fastest way to identify where your biggest opportunities are.
Yep. It's falls right in line with the, career growth as a discovery process.
All right. We'll be back again soon. See you then.